Hello, I'm Joseph Barker, and welcome to the Finding Ability Podcast, a place where people are able, adaptable, brave, loving, and exceptional. This is a place where we get into deep conversations about how we can make our lives better and how we can make the world a better place. Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Finding Ability Podcast. I'm Joseph Barker, your dope host, gracious host. I don't know if you've watched or listened to any of the other stuff. This is still in the first season. It's still very new. I'm still in the midst of the midst or the mist. I'm in the midst of interviewing a bunch of amazing people. I've released a couple different meditations, breath practices, and I'm so surprised at how well it's all been taken by people. I've never been a huge person to post on YouTube or things on a somewhat regular basis. I have posted quite a lot of my music, and this is the first time where in posting things, I really am getting a lot of feedback, all positive, except for a couple audio issues which got fixed up within, I think, 2 recordings. But I am personally excited about all of this and this adventure, and I'm just so grateful that people have been reaching out and letting me know that they have had some success. 2 of my friends have been held up due to the pandemic, and their bubble's been pretty small, and they both work from home, and they've both had troubles with insomnia, lots of screen time. You know, like 8 hours of work or 10 hours of work, and then you watch an episode or 2 of something or a movie on Netflix, and then maybe you go onto your iPad in bed. So the kind of stimulation through our eyes has been really high, and so I'm just really happy that the meditations and the breath practices that I have been providing have been helping people out. One of the comments was, "Oh my God, I haven't woken up without back pain in years," and that's just from a half an hour guided relaxation practice. So yeah, I'm personally feeling really awesome about all of this. This is another Solocast, so it's just going to be me. I'm not too sure how many of these I'm going to do or what the ratio is going to be, but I do have quite a lot of clients who have a lot of questions about different things, and so my kind of thoughts around it are that in these solo casts, I can kind of give people a bunch of information, and hopefully it's kind of presented in a way that makes sense, and it's a bit more conversational than maybe me sending over scientific papers, or like an article that I, wrote, or a blog post that I find somewhere else. I know for myself, one of the best ways that I learn is through conversation, through listening. I know not everybody's like that, but I definitely am, and that's why I am doing this podcast, because I know for myself, this thing called a podcast has really helped me come out of some of the worst places in my life. And it wasn't because of my support structure, like my family or my friends. It's not because they couldn't help, or it wasn't because of my own kind of inability to help. It kind of the odd serendipity of just hearing the right thing at the right time, and from someone outside of yourself. It's transformed my life, and it's why I'm making this. But I'll stop rambling, or I'll at least attempt to rein the rambling back, and talk about today's focus, which is fascia. Okay, so what is fascia? If you Google it, you might see some like roofing or Eastroff kind of architectural things. At least that's what the case used to be. If you've been involved with the health industry at all over the last decade or so, there's been this huge switch from kind of looking at the body like levers and pulleys and it's all muscles and the skeleton, and really understanding that it's more this interconnected soft tissue system or matrix. And what is that? Well, one of the primary components is fascia. If you have eaten meat before or prepped or prepared meat before, you'll see that there's this interesting kind of saran wrap silver lining that might surround muscles or meat. That's fascia. It kind of is the saran wrap or the wrapping of our muscles. What's interesting, though, it doesn't just wrap, say, a single muscle. It also is wrapped around every single cell. It wraps around the organs. It's around our bones. It's this interconnected web that's holding everything together within our bodies. Within my training as a structural integrator, which is a fascial based therapeutic modality, we talk about how fascia is the organ of form, which I'll expand on in a second, and it is an organ of feeling. So it's an organ of form. What the fuck does that mean? If you're to take everything away in your body except for your bones, you'll have a pile of bones on the ground. It won't look like you. Just going to be a bunch of bones. Same thing if you just take your organs out, or if you just have your muscular system, it's all just going to fall apart. The interesting thing with fascial tissue is that if you take it out of the body, that is your form. That is what you look like. It is what holds everything together. This idea of meridians in Eastern thought processes, where we have these currents or these lines through our bodies, that was kind of laughed at for quite a while within the Western culture because, like, obviously there's all of these separate parts and they're not interconnected whatsoever. But then if you try to do anything biomechanically, it's going to require sections of your body. An example is I've worked on a couple truck drivers in my therapeutic practice, and a lot of the time they'll say have their left arm, elbow kind of like hanging on the windowsill while they're driving, and then the right arm is pretty much always engaged. They come into my practice or my clinic, and their entire right shoulder and arm and fingers and everything from fingertips all the way into like their diaphragm, their rib cage, their collarbone, their shoulder blade, that entire area on the right side compared to the left has this ingrained pattern of tension. And it's not obvious to a lot of people how to let that tension go, because it is important to have tension within our bodies. That helps us lift things, move our body through space. But what's important is having the ability to engage the muscles or the fascial chain and then to also release it and to let that go. From my own personal experience, I used to have my right shoulder much higher than my left, and it took months of noticing that I would slightly engage my right shoulder, that it'd be a little bit higher, and then I would relax it. And I would relax it down, and I would stretch it out a little bit every single day for a few minutes. But it took quite a long time to get to a place in which my shoulder wasn't perpetually engaged and high up. And so there's this interesting thing about our fascial system and our minds and how they work. And like I said, it's an organ of feeling and an organ of form. when people have unhealthy fascial tissue, what seems to happen is they have less proprioception and interoception. Okay, that might just sound like a whole bunch of gibberish. Proprioception, that's when you can say close your eyes and know where you are in space. So you can move within space and potentially not hurt yourself. Interoception is your ability to feel your body or to feel inside of your body. Again, that might sound ridiculous, but this is where practices like meditation, yoga, tai chi, qigong, are really, really, really helpful. And I think a lot of the time what's so impactful about these different practices or techniques or tools is that you're training your body intentionally or unintentionally, your proprioceptive capacity as well as your interoceptive capacity. And so going back a little bit, as our fascial system becomes more injured, more contracted, we have less of a capacity to feel ourselves, to feel different parts of our body. But then on the other side, as we gain capacity within our fascial system, as we have more of that fascial health, we have more of a capacity to interocept and to propriocept, thus increasing, athletic capacity, overall mindfulness, and self-regulation, whether that's emotional or whether that's physical. And so, fascia is this beautiful and amazing thing that really wasn't spoken about for just quite a long time. And it really only has been in the last decade or so that it's kind of coming to this prominence with things like structural integration, fascial stretch therapy, like foam rollers, and like the melt method or whatever, relief through rolling. Our ability to connect with this interesting and elusive soft tissue matrix that gives us the form to make us who we are is coming into more prominence. I remember when I first had fascial work done, it was 2009. No, 2009. And at that point in time, I had seen physios and massage therapists forever. Amazing people. But I never really had any of the results that I really wanted or needed as a professional athlete. I just perpetually felt tired, sore, broken. My hips felt like they were going to explode pretty much like at any moment in time. So I would have to warm up before having a main set. And I was doing lots of different therapeutic yoga things, even before I was a yoga teacher, just to kind of keep my body in a place where it felt like it actually could function, as opposed to just feeling like a complete wreck. And so I had been programmed to see these occupational therapists, physios, and massage therapists, and amazing people, and it did help me to a certain capacity. But it wasn't until I had my first session of structural integration in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I worked with a physio down there who's also a structural integrator. He works with the American tennis team. And he just invited us to come. We were in Fort Lauderdale for a staging camp for Can-Ams in San Antonio, Texas. And I just said, of course, I'll always take free, work. And the weirdest thing happened. He worked on my body, specifically for me, adductors, which is your inner thigh or my inner thigh. And it hurt. And I swore pretty loudly at one moment because it was just so much stimulation on an area that had probably been chronically tight for a decade or something. And when I stood up, I actually felt different. Literally in standing, it was like someone had taken 60 pounds of extra pressure that was in my quads, thighs, hips, and just took it away. So that was odd. And I remember so distinctly the feeling of like, whoa, it actually worked. And it actually maintained. I didn't feel like this compulsory need to warm up before warm up to have a main set. It just straight up felt better. And that was the first time that I had fascial work. And once I did get back to London, Ontario, I ended up doing the 10 series, which is 10 sessions of that work to remodel and to sculpt your entire body. And the effects were profound. I went through the 10 series as well when I did my training. And again, the effects were profound. That was several years later. So I had about 3 or so years of pretty much daily yoga practice. And so I was very in my body and very aware of where it was tight or restricted or just kind of felt crappy. And the odd thing was that every single time that they worked on something, it just literally felt better. And some people probably hear this and go, whatever, Joseph, like, you drank the Kool-Aid. But it actually worked. Things like foam rolling and like medicine or the lacrosse balls, that stuff kind of works a little bit, but this was a whole new level. And how it makes sense to me and how I explain it to people is our bodies have so much more tightness and contracture than we can even really perceive. It's kind of a subconscious thing because we get used to where our bodies are tight and how much restrictions on the nervous system. And when someone comes who's a good practitioner, who is soft, like literally their whole body is as relaxed as they can be while they're working on you, that softness or that relaxation in their hands and in their nervous system, once it places onto your nervous system, you'll feel the difference. And there's some kind of weird mechanism of action where it's telling the patient's nervous system that this is okay. That this tissue that's maybe been stuck, tight, engaged, can let go and soften and relax. And as that happens, and as the restrictions within that tissue start to like break down, break away, the scar tissue is less, there's more mobility and motility through the tissue, then it has more flow. The tissue opens up. And as it opens up, now water and all the fluids that are within the body can then move at a greater capacity. Because things aren't so tight, all of the cellular structures can open up. All of the tension on the nerves starts to lessen. There's more space now for the capillaries and the veins and the arteries to move. And so it's this interesting opening of a person that I see pretty much every single day. I took some time off during the pandemic because, working on people is not the best thing to do during a pandemic. But in my experience over the last several years of working with people, as those restrictions are kind of taken away, and as I can bring awareness and softness to all of these areas that are chronically tight and engaged, even if people aren't even aware of it, it provides a deeper and a deeper sense of calm and relaxation, which I believe is coming from less tension physically on the nervous system. And so our minds or our brains then have more of a capacity to relax because there's literally less tension, there's less stimulation going on. Which, if you do a yoga or stretch or even just like go into a float tank or swim, when your body's more open, we're more able to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, that relaxation response. And with that, we can then recover faster and then be a better person. Okay, so that's a lot of information pretty quick. On I'm going to wrap this up in the next few minutes and just go over some things that you can do right now if you're interested in experimenting with your fascia or your fascial system. One is to drink more water. Hydration is super important, and our fascia and our bodies need a lot of that. So drinking the best quality water that you can is going to help impact that system. Movement. Please move your body. That's important. Everyone has a different way that they like to move, but do it with intention. And that might mean going for a walk. That might mean doing Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, working out, but moving your body. If you want specific benefits, I would say look into something like Qigong. It's super easy, relatively. It's something that you can do anywhere. If you can stand, you can do it in that place. And it's super gentle on your body. This isn't really like a workout to like gain muscle from. This is a workout to bring elasticity, plasticity, to bring fluidity back to your body. And so a lot of the movements in Qigong look silly. They might look stupid. You're just swinging your arms around like some kind of idiot. But it provides a real benefit in the fact that you're moving your fascial system, you're moving your lymphatic system, you're helping to work on your balance, your capacity for proprioception and interoception. And if you can do that outside, well, there's a whole bunch of benefits there. Breathing in good quality air, unless you're doing it on the highway, and exposing yourself to the sun and the elements. So water, some kind of movement. Another thing that you can look into or do is Yin Yoga. Now, for some people that might sound silly or weird, Yin Yoga is a kind of section of yoga in which you're holding postures for anywhere from, say, a minute to 10 minutes. The reason why this is interesting, impactful, and important is you're targeting your fascial system more so than your muscular system. You're not engaging your muscles. You're allowing gravity and your body, working with gravity, to open up different parts of your body. And it helps to stimulate the growth of new tissue, and that can be longer. It can also help to bring a lot of fluidity back into joints and your body. So if you take a look at Yin Yoga online, there's going to be lots of videos, books that you can look into. One of the easiest things that you can do is putting your legs up the wall. Get your butt close to a wall, put your legs up, put your hands on your belly. Take 5 or 6 deep breaths in and out through your nose. Put on a song that you love that's not too intense. And just chill out for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And that simple act in and of itself can be so helpful and can bring a lot of, or can help take a lot of pain out of your life. Thank you for listening. I hope you're having a great day and that you feel like you have a little bit more knowledge in your brain. We'll talk soon. Much love.